All right, let's jump right into this explainer and look under the hood of a technology that is quietly but fundamentally transforming our daily commute. We're talking about a total, from the ground up reimagining of the traditional traffic lights. The average driver actually spends up to 6 months of their life just waiting at red lights. 6 months. Have you ever sat at a red light when there was absolutely no cross traffic? We've all been there. It's incredibly frustrating, isn't it? You're just idling there, wasting time, burning fuel, and generating unnecessary carbon emissions, all because some mechanical timer or a buried sensor hasn't quite figured out you're there yet. It's a universal headache for sure, but it also adds up to a massive economic and environmental costs across a whole city.
So, here's our commuter's roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The smart intersection revolution, 2. The language of smart lights, 3. Prioritizing emergency and transit, 4. Green lights for cyclists, and 5. Traffic flow without tracking.
Okay, part 1. The smart intersection revolution. The Dutch have this incredible solution called the IVRI, which stands for Intelligent Traffic Control Installations. And listen, these aren't just your standard traffic lights with a shiny new paint job. These systems actively communicate with road users using cloud-based data. Think of it literally as a sixth sense for intersections. Instead of waiting for you to roll right up to the stop line, these smart lights can essentially see traffic arriving from miles away, and they dynamically adjust their timing to keep everybody moving smoothly.
Look, traditional signals, they're pretty reactive. They basically just sit there waiting for a car to physically drive over an inductive loop buried in the pavement. Smart signals, on the other hand, are totally proactive. By tapping into cloud-based detection and standard cellular networks, they gather data on approaching vehicles way in advance. It's a massive, massive shift from these reactive mechanical timers to proactive data-driven ecosystems.
Which brings us to part 2, the language of smart lights.
What's genuinely fascinating here is how the architecture actually works in real life. The cloud seamlessly connects a bus's onboard unit, its OBU, directly to the traffic light in real time. The vehicle just sends its location, its speed, even whether its doors are open or closed, right to a central cloud broker. And then that broker passes the request directly to the intersection controller. There's zero extra hardware needed on the light pole itself. The whole thing runs through the cloud and cellular networks with literally less than a second of delay.
Now you might be wondering, how do they actually talk to each other? Well, to really grasp this, we need to decode this alphabet soup of ETSI data standards. This is the official language of smart intersections all across Europe. A vehicle sends a CAM message, which is basically saying, hey, here's exactly where I am and how fast I'm going. If it's a bus or an ambulance, it fires off an SRM message saying, I need priority to get through. The traffic light replies back with an SSM message, either granting or denying that priority. And finally, the light broadcasts a SPAT message to everyone around, counting down the exact seconds until the light turns green or red.
Moving on to part 3, prioritizing emergency and transit.
At the very heart of this whole thing is something called the Priority Broker Configurator. Honestly, it's essentially a virtual traffic cop living in the cloud, operating on a very strict hierarchy. Class 14, like your ambulances, gets absolute priority. Fire and police are right behind them. Down at Class 10, we have buses, which get conditional priority. And then further down, the system optimizes for groups of cyclists or even freight trucks, so they don't have to stop and burn excess fuel getting back up to speed. It's a clear breakdown of exactly who goes first and why.
So giving absolute priority to a Class 14 ambulance, that is strictly a matter of life and safety. The second that signal request message hits the IVRI, the system instantly and safely terminates any conflicting traffic phases. It turns the other directions red and clears a guaranteed green path for that emergency vehicle. This drastically cuts down incident response times and stops first responders from having to make dangerous maneuvers through crowded intersections.
But what about your everyday public transit? Well, that's where conditional priority steps in. The system knows exactly if a bus is running behind schedule. If it is, boom, it gets the green light to catch up. But if the bus is early, actually scratch that. If it's early, the intersection just lets the regular cross-traffic flow first. The goal here is pretty incredible. They want to reduce traffic signal delay for transit vehicles to nearly zero. It requires a massive mindset shift for urban planners, right? Moving away from maximizing the flow of individual cars and instead prioritizing the flow of people.
All right, part 4, green lights for cyclists. I absolutely love this quote from Jeroen van Dijken. He's a Dutch provincial executive. He says, "It is as if you press the button for the traffic light in advance while you're cycling toward it." That perfectly captures the magic of these new cycling apps they're rolling out in the Netherlands, like Das So Gefietst and Schwung.
So how does this actually work for you, the rider?
Well, as you pedal up to an intersection, the app running in the background of your phone sends a completely anonymous signal to the smart traffic light. The intersection registers you're coming and tweaks the timing so the light turns green for you faster. But here's the absolute best part. It's gamified. Cyclists actually earn points for their regular daily usage, which they can redeem for real-world rewards. I mean, talk about making biking a more appealing option.
To picture this in action, imagine your daily route mapped out on the app. Say, your morning commute to the office. The app sets up these invisible geofenced zones around the traffic lights along your path. So before you even get anywhere near the stop line, the intersection already knows a cyclist is on the way and is actively preparing to give you a green light.
And finally, Part 5, traffic flow without tracking.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. If intersections know I'm coming, are they tracking my every move? You can rest easy. The developers, and the incredibly strict European data standards they have to follow, ensure that this connection to the intersection is totally temporary and completely anonymous. The smart signals are only looking for a data point, a speed, a location, a vehicle class. It cannot be traced back to a specific person or your specific smartphone. It's all about monitoring the mass flow of movement, not tracking individual citizens.
Ultimately, this whole shebang serves the Dutch philosophy of systemic safety. A huge part of this is the LARGAS principle, which roughly translates to slow driving goes faster. Sounds totally backwards, right? But by using data to maintain consistent, slightly lower speeds, the system completely prevents that awful accordion effect of stop-and-go traffic. It optimizes the throughput of the entire network. And because you don't have vehicles idling endlessly at red lights, this technology is projected to cut national idle CO2 emissions by up to 10%. So this anonymous flow optimization, it's actually a massive tool in the fight against climate change.
So we've seen how these smart intersections can clear the way for a rushing ambulance, keep your morning bus exactly on schedule, and literally reward you for biking to work. By shifting from reactive mechanical timers to a proactive, talking ecosystem, our daily commute becomes safer, greener, and just vastly more efficient. So the question I want to leave you with today is this. Knowing the incredible benefits of this cloud-based technology, is your city ready to let the traffic lights do the thinking? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the right questions.